You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. If you're listening to this show, chances are you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees. Whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades, every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means it is time to get down to business for your Hot Options Reports for Wednesday, September 17th, aka Fed Day. Should be a banger. Fed delivering as expected, cutting 1/4 point. But of course, it's all in the guidance. It's all in what they say for the future. And the market getting a little rocky throughout the latter portion of the session. S&P actually selling off 1% before closing the day, only off slightly down about 0.1% out there. So we had some intraday vol, should lead to some fun action. Let's see what we've got lighting up the tape, shall we? Let's kick it off. In the volatility space, out to VIX we go. VIX cash closing after kind of a rocky day, closing right around 15 3/4, putting up over 1 million contracts today, 1.08 million. That ADV also getting spicy. It's up to 945. That is 945,000 contracts a day, nearly 1 million contracts a day changing hands in VIX options right now. You know things are spicy in the market when VIX is averaging nearly 1 million contracts a day. That is nothing to sneeze at. And the hot option out there on a pretty active day in VIX land, we've been saying for a while, the 15 puts draw a lot of attention out there. SEP 15 puts, those obviously going the way of the dodo now. October 15 puts getting a lot of attention. And of course, the November 15 puts, not to be left out of the conversation as well. They were the top dog today, 84,000 almost exactly changing hands. Average price of 23 cents. So once again, we have that age-old question. Do you like that price for that strike? People have been tilting at the 15 puts all year long, and most of that money has gone to die if you've bought it. Maybe November will be your huckleberry. Either way, wild stuff afoot out here in VIX land as we keep on rolling out to SPY. Was it a hot day out in SPY? The answer was yes, also exceeding its ADV. The ADV is right around 7 3/4 million, putting up about 8.3 million contracts in SPY today. So a pretty active day. SPY closing a little bit shy of 660, 659.18, giving up a little over 0.1% out there. And the hot option on a pretty active day in SPY today, 364,000 of the 660 calls. So again, just within spitting distance. Average price of $1.32. So unfortunately, if you bought them for that average price and you rode them into the end of the day, not exactly a winner chicken dinner for you, but you had your options. You had your opportunities to get out of them during the day. So interesting stuff out there in SPY. As we keep on rolling to the SPX, listeners, was it a hot day in the SPX? Surprisingly, we had the VIX beating its ADV. We have SPY beating its ADV. On Fed Day, the S coming in a little light, actually, which is, again, kind of interesting. About 3 3/4 million contracts on the tape in the SPX. The S going out almost exactly 6,600. 6,635 to be precise, listeners. Again, off about 0.1% out there to close the session. The ADV in the S about 3.95 million. So again, coming in a little light on Fed Day. That's kind of wild. And the hot option out there on Fed Day, go figure, 6,600s, 64, almost 65,000 of those going up. Average price for these bad boys, not giving them away, 14 and a quarter. So if you bought those for around that average price and you rode them all day, didn't get out of them, which again, what are you doing? If you're trading zero DTE, you got to get out when the getting's good. But if you rode them into the close, unfortunately, not exactly a winner chicken dinner for you out there. Zero DTE is all about getting in and getting out, listeners. So hopefully you did just that if you were slinging some options out there on the zero DTE front. Let's keep on rolling out to small caps. Was it a banger day in IWM? The answer was once again yes. Nearly 4 million contracts out there. So hot stuff in IWM. ADV of 1.35 million. Now, once again, before you get all hot and bothered out there, by the way, small caps going out almost 239, 238.97, up about 70 cents, or up about 1/3%. So bucking the trend and rallying today. And this time going out to the dark side, it was the 233 puts expiring at the end of the week. 549,000 of those going up today. Looks like we had a bit of a put spread. Also, we got the 236 puts going up 439,000 times out there. So again, we are in XDiv territory. Just went XDiv in IWM. So wild stuff out here in small caps today. So once again, we said it before, we will say it again. When things go XDiv, options volume can get a little wonky. Just something to bear in mind out there as we keep on rolling out to the Qs. Were the Qs hot? Were the Qs spicy? The answer was, yeah, it was decent. About 4.5 million contracts. That's against an ADV of about 4.1 out there. So managing to exceed their ADV, something that the SPX at least could not do out there on Fed Day, which again, kind of interesting. The Qs going out 590 exactly. That is wild, off about 0.2% out there. So, wow, even close for the Qs. I can't remember the last time we've seen that out there, listeners. And the hot option on a decently active Fed Day in the Qs, it was the 590 calls. Go figure. 182,000 of those bad boys. Average price of about $1.53. You know the dance by now. If you bought them for that average price and you stubbornly rode them into the close, not exactly a winner chicken dinner for you. If you sold them and you gritted your teeth and you bore it to the end of the session, you did all right. But again, you kind of sweated. You paid for it in sweat equity, listeners. As we keep on rolling out to the single names, listeners, was it a banger Fed Day in your single names? The answer was kind of no. 475, not much. But then again, when we have these macro heavy days like Fed days, we sometimes see the single name paper kind of quieting down a little bit. And that seems to be the case out there today. Number 10, our old pal SoFi, giving back some to the market gods today. Closing 27.14, off about a quarter, about 1%. SoFi good for 475,000 contracts. And the number 10 spot and the hot option out there on a decently hot day in SoFi, 47,000 of the 28 calls going the way of the dodo on Friday. Average price for those, 30 cents. So up to you whether you think SoFi can get to 28.30 before the end of the week. As we keep on rolling out to Snap. Man, we haven't talked about Snap in forever. This is one of those ones, listeners, comes on our radar every now and then. Is it a social media company? Is it a tech company? Is it both? Usually some headline-driven news puts it on our radar. Today, closing right about $8, up about a quarter, or 3.25% out there. Looks like there is some unfortunate class action news in Snap out there today. Snap put up again 484,000 contracts for the number 9 spot on our countdown today, listeners. And what was the hot option on a hot day in Snap? Doing over 3x their ADV in Snap today. It was 56,000 of the SEP8 calls. Interesting. Average price for those, about 17, almost 18 cents. Worth noting, there is some OI on that strike, so it could be a roll. Number 2 is 43,000 of the 9 calls expiring this week as well. That was opening, so we could have a bit of a roll on our hands. Those trading for an average price of about 3 cents. Do you want to roll from the 8s to the 9s before the end of the week? Well, maybe someone did. Either way, those are your actual 2 hot options on a pretty hot day out there in Snap. As we keep on rolling to the A tech names, AMD coming in number 8, 518,000 contracts on the tape today. AMD closing 159.16, off about $1.30 or 0.8%. And the hot option on a decently active day in AMD, 41,000 of the 160 calls, again expiring this week. Average price of $240 for those bad boys, so you know the deal. 160.240 is your magic number by the end of the week. Can we get there? Can we kiss it, listeners? That's up to you. If you think so, then maybe those 160s are your huckleberry. As we keep on rolling to number 7, keeping it in the A tech zone for the Amazonians. 627 on the tape. Amazon closing 231.62, off nearly $2.50 or about 1% on the day. The hot option out there in Amazon, 46,000 of the 235 calls, again expiring this Friday. Average price for those bad boys, about $1.05 actually. So you know the deal. Can we get to 236.05 by the end of the week, listeners? If you're buying those bad boys, looks like it could have been closing on those, so someone could be getting the heck out of Dodge on those. Maybe they don't think we can get there by the end of the week. They want to get while the getting is good, or while there's still at least $1 worth of meat on the bone. Either way, we'll keep an eye on Amazon as we keep on going to the number 6 spot, climbing all the way to the number 6 today. It's our old pal Rigetti, popping yet again, $21.99, up $1.99 or nearly 10%. So a good little run for Rigetti out there. The stock's been on a tear of late. Today, putting up 698,000 contracts. For the number 6 spot on our countdown today, the hot option out there in Rigetti, pretty hot, 141,000 of the 19 puts expiring this Friday. Average price for those, 14 cents. Interesting. All opening paper, too. So if that's buying paper, someone obviously not exactly feeling the flow, feeling the love for Rigetti out there. We saw this with Oracle. People faded the heck out of that rally, and that turned out to be the right move. Is this the right move in Rigetti, or would you rather say sold to you and collect your about 15 cents? Are you brave enough to sell an option out there for 15 cents in Rigetti? It's only a couple of handles out of the money, and it's only a couple of days to go, so interesting stuff. Rigetti puts lighting up the tape. Did not expect that on a day when it's popping. As we keep on rolling to number 5, listeners, it's the fruit company. Apple putting up 727,000 contracts today. Apple closing almost 239, 238.99, up about 85 cents or about 1/3%. So kind of a quiet net fed day for them. But the hot option out there putting up decent numbers. About 76,000 of the 240 calls. Average price for these about $1.90. This has kind of been the magic strike all week, 240. They've been tilting at it in the stock. They've been tilting at it in the options. Yet again, more opening paper on the 240 strike. You know the deal. Can we get to about 242 before the end of the week, listeners, in Apple? It's up to you. If you think so, maybe you like these. Or maybe you're saying sold to you, you're willing to grit your teeth throughout the rest of the week. Again, paying for the calls in sweat equity as we keep on rolling to number 4, Palantir, 838 on the tape for Palantir. Palantir selling off nearly $2, about $1.93, closing 168 1/3, so off a little over 1% today. The hot option on a decently active day in Palantir. Obviously, we've seen a lot more paper in Palantir. 48,000 of the 170 calls, average price of about $1.75. So you know the drill. If you're buying those, need to kiss 171 3/4 before the end of the week. Obviously, if you get close to that, well before expiration, you're looking pretty good as well. Can we get there? You like these, listeners, or are you sold to you on these 170s in Palantir? Hit us up. Let us know as we keep on rolling to number 3. If you've been listening to the show for a little bit, you can probably guess what 3, 2, and 1 are. It's a question of the order, listeners. Number 3 is open. 2.07 million contracts on the tape. So quite a jump from Palantir at 838 and number 4 to number 3, 2.07 million. Huge jump out there. Open. Again, breaking the 10 handle today, 1021, up about $1.30 or 14.5%. So this name, just when you think it's done, roaring back to life. Closed sub $9 yesterday, $8.92. just roaring back to life out here in Palantir. Got as low as 876 today, as high as 1087, over a $2 range, hence 2 million contracts on the tape in open. Absolutely wild stuff out here in open today. And what was the hot option on a hot day in open? You can probably guess it's probably calls. And that is the case. The question is which one? Which strike? 185,000 of the 10 calls going the way of the dodo in a couple of days. Average price for these listeners, get this, 86 cents. Again, we did get there today. These were about 87 cents in the money at one point. So maybe that makes that price make a little more sense to you. That is pretty rich, but then again, it is open. The stock could be anywhere by Friday. Hence the challenge to the options pricing model for some of these meme stocks. But wild stuff. Right now, stock around 10 and a quarter. Would you pay 86 cents for the 10 calls? They are about 25 cents in the money, so maybe that makes it a little more palatable to you. Are you willing to roll those bones? If that's the case, then the open 10s are your huckleberry as we keep on rolling to number 2. Is it Tesla or is it NVIDIA? Lately, listeners, Tesla has been taking the top spot, kicking NVIDIA to the number 2 spot, but not today. The normal order has been restored. Tesla, 2.59 million contracts. Tesla, 425.86, up about 4.25, about exactly 1% out there today. So gaining a little bit more luster out there. And today, the hot option, 117,000 of the 430s. These bad boys not giving them away. Average price nearly $5, 493 out there. Which again, maybe you'll feel a little bit better when you see the high today was about 428 and a third for Tesla. So maybe that makes nearly $5 for the 430s, a little bit more palatable. Either way, listeners, not a cheap option. They got to get into gear if they're going to pay those bad boys off by the end of the week, if they are indeed buying them. As we keep on rolling to the number 1 spot, you know the dance by now. It's NVIDIA, 170.25, off about 460 or about 2.6%. Good for just a tick under 3 million contracts, 2.97 million contracts on the tape for NVIDIA today. The hot option on a decently hot day for NVIDIA today, 180,000 of the 170 puts. Average price for these about $2.30. So once again, they are not giving these bad boys away. And before you get all hot and bothered, the stock did sell off to 168.41 today. So obviously those puts, they were in the money for a while. So that could add a little bit to that average price out there. Either way, right now, stock north of 170, about 170.25. Are you willing to pay $229 for those puts? Or are you saying sold to you? We'll keep an eye on those bad boys throughout the rest of the week. That is going to do it for your Wednesday edition of the Hot Options Report. Back again tomorrow to kick things off with the option block. Our good buddy, the Flow Master, will be joining us. If you like this kind of stuff, talking options flow, he's a good guy to listen to. Tune into the option block tomorrow, followed by This Week in Futures Options, where we talk all things futures options. And then we come back to round out our broadcast day with the Thursday edition of the Hot Options Report. See you there, and oh yeah, stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.